This is episode number 364 of the InnerFight podcast. In this show, we take the listeners' questions and give you the answers. Welcome back to another edition of the InnerFight podcast. My name's Mike Smith, founder of InnerFight, and I'm sat, as always, with my co-host, Andre Houdet, who has all of the knowledge that I was missing in my youth. Don't forget, folks, the show is brought to you by Smith Street Paleo. Hop over to iTunes, rate and review the podcast. We would be so happy if you did that we're going to send you a bag of Smith Street Paleo goodies. That's the intros. Let's jump into today's show. Andre.
So many questions this time.
You know what? And one of the questions, it's quite funny because we say it there in the intro, hop over to iTunes, rate and review the podcast, and someone's like, guys, I've provided you a 5-star rating and a review, and I want my bag of goodies.
And he will get them.
And he will absolutely get them. We do appreciate that, guys. Our podcast gets better, gets more listeners if you hop over to iTunes, give it a rating, give it a review. If you really enjoy it, please share it with someone. If that someone has no idea what a podcast is, sorry. No, if they don't know what a podcast is, just show them. The world of podcasting is huge. I suggest you don't only listen to our podcast. I suggest you do listen to our 2 shows a week, though. Fitness in Under 3 Minutes is our small show, and this show is 40 minutes. But I also suggest you listen to a load of other podcasts. I might kick it off with that. What's your top 3 podcasts at the moment, Andre?
The Mind Muscle Project.
Mind Muscle Project, guys from Australia, super cool, young guys.
Yeah. Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss
Show.
Tim Ferriss Show.
And third one, actually I'm listening to these two right now. Yeah.
Right now, yeah. I think I go through phases of more CrossFit-based ones, so My Muscle Project has been on my list for a while. Other stuff that's outside of CrossFit, which I think people, and outside of fitness, which people should also be jumping into. The James Altucher Show is very good. He's a cool guy. He's a little bit crazy, a little bit different, got thousands and thousands of followers and gets really cool guests on the show. Another one, which is one of the biggest, most famous podcasts, and I actually encourage people to listen to this one, or be a little bit selective about how they listen to it, because you will get bored of listening to every single show, is the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, you have to be super patient when it comes to that. Like, if you have super long, whatever, bike rides or car rides, it's good, but those shows are like 3 hours.
3 hours.
There's a lot of small talk. I mean, there's so much knowledge, definitely, but it's a very generalized show, I would say. It's
a very generalized show. So I think it's... I actually listened to one the other day, Joe Rogan interviewing the guy from, and I should know because I listened to it for 3 hours, the guy that directed the film Icarus, which exposed a lot of the Russian drug scandal. Yeah. Super interesting.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that one, definitely hop over to Netflix and watch it.
That's a good documentary to watch, and definitely the Joe Rogan podcast on that. But I think I listen to Joe Rogan when I've heard of the guest. He obviously moves a lot in mixed martial arts field, and I don't have much interest in that. So a lot of his guests are from the mixed martial arts field.
Exactly.
But he does have a lot of good guests on. What else do I like at the moment?
Gary Vaynerchuk.
It's
always good. Like, you need some, I don't know, somebody kick you in the butt in the morning, and just get hyped up a bit. And
I think Gary Vaynerchuk, he has his podcast, and he also has a Daily V, which is like a vlog.
Yeah.
I think to listen to it, to watch it every day is full on. I think, but like you say, and I did it. It's funny you brought that up. A week or so ago, I had an extra 5 minutes in the morning. I'd got everything done, and I hadn't had to be somewhere. I had a little bit of spare time, and I was like, I'll just watch a Daily V show. I haven't watched one for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Watch one, gets you fired up, gets things in perspective. That's real good. But a lot of his content keeps going.
It's very repetitive, but I mean, you put out like 5 shows a week, then fair enough.
Something's going to be quite repetitive there. But definitely go and check out, and just go to iTunes and go to the podcast app and check out what's trending. I think
top
that's
list and everything.
There's one guy in Ireland who's blowing up at the moment in fitness, the Brian Keane Fitness podcast, something like that. and he's doing a super good job. He's only been going a couple of years, and he's at the top of the fitness charts in the UK. We're actually at the top of the health and fitness charts in the region. That's why you might have seen us promoting ourselves as the #1 health and fitness show in the region. It's true. It's legit. If there was a governing body, I'd have a certificate.
And please, if you listen to our shows, please screenshot it on your phone, post it on social media, and give us a shout out or tag so we can, get in touch with you. And maybe if you have some direct questions, you can just send it to us, whatever you want.
We'd love to answer them. Mate, talking about what's going on, a few weeks back, we just finished Hell Week here at the gym. Do you want to give us a little bit of an overview of what that was, how it went, and some of your thoughts on it?
Yeah, so basically every month we try to make some sort of challenge here in the gym, and one of them this year and last year was the Hell Week. It's 5 days back-to-back of super tough sessions. So really hard, like CrossFit workouts that you'll be going through 5 days in a row. If you pass every single day, then you will get your name on our Hall of Fame board or wall back here in the gym. And,
which, incidentally, mate, that thing is getting absolutely full. I can see from here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 boards up there now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Ali Khaled has his face in the middle of... that's crazy. It was supposed to be names from the start, and now he's in the middle. But that's quite cool, that one of the summer selfies. And one that we're super proud of is, and we're going to speak a little bit about the endurance guys later, is the endurance team, who are probably a little bit the unsung heroes of the gym. And I think there's 12 names on that board of athletes from this gym who have raced at various distances, from Ironman to sprint distance triathlon, on a world championship level, which is pretty epic.
Yeah. Why don't you explain, what is the InnerFight endurance thing? Because I think a lot of people have seen you guys out there on the road, but nobody really knows. Is it, just a community? Is it
that's not a bad idea. I think it might be a good idea to give it a little bit of backstory, actually. Yeah. And it also goes why Neil Flanagan's name in 2011 is on the top of that board when he raced at World Championships in Kona, which is the holy grail of triathlon. Actually, prior to 2011, someone introduced Someone introduced me to Flanners and said, you guys might want to catch up. You both do sport, and I think you can maybe help each other. And we sat down, and he explained really what Ironman was, and I kind of heard of it before. I'd heard of Kona, and he said he'd be racing there, and I was like, wow, this guy, he's legit. Like, he knows what's up. And it was quite late into it. He had an endurance coach, and I had no idea about endurance coaching, but we started it was actually the funniest story. It was in a financial services office. Flanners was wearing a suit, and we were sat in a boardroom. And that was really the birth of our endurance division. Like, a lot of people say, when you set out the brand, did you think about endurance? I was like, no. Like, it was never ever in the plan. It just happened. We sat in this room, and and this was the first step. And Flanners said, he was asking me different questions, and I had some knowledge that I could help him with. So he sort of kept in contact and did a couple of things together. And he said, there's one thing. He said, you've helped me on a couple of things. There's one thing, when I get back from Kona, I definitely want to start working on, and as I believe it's a missing component from triathlon, which is strength training. Yeah. So Kona's just been, it's sort of towards the end of September, October, and it was the same time. So we're now 6 years later, and Flanners walks into the gym in the end of October, beginning of November. And
without a suit, that's for sure.
Without the suit, just in his skinny triathlon gear. He was actually one of the first triathletes that I started coaching that didn't come in full lycra. Yeah. All the others just started rocking up in the gym in the cycling shorts and stuff. I was like, is this what I really signed up for? And anyway, he jumped in, and he said, listen, I've got 3 months. Let's see how strong we can make me. And I was like, okay. And we started making him stronger and said, what's the goal? He had a specific goal on the bike. We measured it and just made his legs stronger, and then made him go faster. And then he went and raced, I think it was the next year, in the World Championships in sprint distance, which this strength made him faster, raced for Great Britain, did a super good job. And, and then he, because he obviously had all this knowledge, and we were working together on his strength, and we had more endurance athletes, we were working on the nutrition, on their strength, and starting to research and to understand how to actually program for endurance athletes through a little bit alternate. It used to be all just go out and do hours, perceived effort, and we're trying to be a little bit more scientific and actually a bit more realistic and going, well, you don't have 30 hours a week to train for an Ironman. Can we do it in 15? Yeah. And at that time, I was actually doing quite a bit of work with a guy who's an incredibly successful Ironman and also fitness professional, Ben Greenfield in the States. And he was like, Marcus,
that's a massive podcast, right?
He has a huge podcast, and we've been good friends for quite a long time. And he's like, Marcus, you don't need to train 15 hours, but this is what I'm doing, and people aren't really believing me. But he had like a Kona time of like 9.5 hours, which is flying. It's really good.
Okay.
So that's really how it developed, mate. And Flanners started coaching some clients, and we realized very quickly that he was quite good at coaching as well. Obviously studied a lot, did some more of the certifications for triathlon coach. But and this is how I see it a lot, is like, yeah, you need to understand the sport, but you need to have played a sport as well. You need to understand what it's like. And when you've competed at top level, when you've competed at the World Championships in Kona, when you've competed at the Sprint Distance Championships, for Great Britain, which he did, I think you've got quite a good idea of what's going on. So we sort of added a lot of meat to it, and that it was born. We started coaching people. He started coaching his clients, 2 or 3, and then it got bigger, and then we sort of called it InnerFight Endurance Team. So what is it now, mate? I think that's what's important.
Where are we today?
Where are we today? Today we're at a place where we have about 60 to 70 athletes engaged with us. Not all of them are on programs at the moment. And what we do is we write programs for those guys. It could be a triathlon. It could be a sprint distance triathlon. It could be an Ironman triathlon. Could be a ultra marathon. I'm writing a running program at the moment for Sean Hurley, who's going to compete in MDS Peru in the end of November. So that's a 250k race. I'm also writing a program for a cyclist at the moment, and Flanners is programming for so we program for all, whatever you're doing related to endurance, we program for. We'll also take care of people's nutrition if they want. Have a lot of experience, obviously, with race day nutrition, how to prepare, how to fuel for that. And as well, a lot of the clients come in, people maybe start endurance because they are a little bit overweight, so we sort of help them to lose weight through endurance. One of the things that endurance does to a lot of people is it actually puts weight on them, believe it or not, because their body's just under so much stress. So that's essentially what our endurance program is. We also recently took on another coach, Susanna, who's a female coach who's focusing more on females and beginners of the sport. Neil has about 35 to 40 active clients.
Wow.
At a given time. That's about his capacity.
And those programs are super detailed. I've just seen some of the programs, and they're just impressive.
It's, mate, the thing is with the approach that we get, we're quite geeky. We look at all the numbers. So it's like a client, an athlete will do a session. I have to, again, go through that session. If it's an interval session, I have to look at the intervals. I have to look at how the heart rate's done. I have to look at the speed. I have to look at power. If it's a bike, there's a lot of different things to look at. And then accordingly, we'll program the next session. So some people are like, oh, yeah, it's drag and drop. Yeah, the sessions are actually a little bit of drag and drop. Like, we do drop them in, but actually specificity to that athlete is huge.
Exactly.
It's the same as we speak about a lot in CrossFit. You can do Fran, and I can do Fran, and we can both have a really good workout. But the weight that you do it at, and the speed that you do it at, and the weight that I do it at, and the speed that I do it at, may well differ greatly for us to get a similar intensity. We spoke about intensity in a previous show, and I think we got a lot of good feedback on that. It's exactly the same in endurance as well. So we have track sessions. For example, on a Tuesday, all the athletes run together at the track. They all do the same session. So they all do 4 800s if it's 4 800s. They all do then 600s. But they all have their specific pace, which we understand, which is related to different testing we do. I won't go into that too much now. Their heart rate and what they're going to. So it takes a lot of time. So that's why we have Susanna on board as well. She also runs group sessions where people come together almost as a community, because
that's really cool.
Yeah, it is, mate, because it can be quite a lonely sport as well. You can't do all of it together, but some of it you can do together. And as with a lot of things sort of over here in the UAE, people are looking for should we say, a support group and people like-minded
social
people.
Network.
A social network.
They come here without family and friends, and they're looking for
exactly
that.
So that's we've gone from Hell Week to the endurance programs, mate. We should probably jump in and get.
Yeah.
We got a lot of other things to speak about, folks, about the gym, but let's jump into some of these questions we've got here. The first one from Oliveira, who says, I want you to answer this, mate.
Yeah.
And put it straight onto you. What's your view on training 2 times a day? Like 1 session, 1 hour with a focus on strength, more like bodybuilding style, and 1 CrossFit session later on in the day. He goes on to say, I'm asking that as sometimes I get to have some free time, so it's super practical, and then was wondering whether this approach could help me improve faster, or would it rather be the opposite? What's your views, mate?
Generally, I would say it's okay.
Yeah.
Now I actually know him, and I know how he trains, and
Right.
I also know similar to what goals he's trying to achieve and where he's trying to go with his training. And if you're smart about your training and you take some rest days once in a while and once a week at least,
Yeah.
then yes, 2 times a day is possible.
Yeah.
I would say my general guideline would be you need at least 4 hours of rest in between your sessions.
Okay.
And if your session is super tough, then you can have a little bit more rest maybe.
Yeah.
If it's super easy, if it's like a mobility session that's not too tough, then you can have less rest. But I think a general marker is 4 hours in between each session is super good.
Right.
I think if he does a more strength bodybuilding kind of style session, as he mentions, and then pair it up with later in the day a CrossFit session where I assume he's focusing a bit more on conditioning, I would say it's completely fine. If he's trying to beat his body up with the same kind of stimulus twice a day,
Yeah.
then I maybe wouldn't recommend it, because we're trying to achieve a certain response from the body, and if you try to hit the body with the same stimulus every time,
Yeah.
then you might not be able to adapt and get that response we're looking for.
That's actually one of the biggest mistakes I saw with people a little bit more back in the day when CrossFit first started, and all people really knew about, or all people wanted to do, was the Metcons.
Yeah.
So they'd come in the morning, they'd do 3 or 4 Metcons, they'd do, let's go back to the old favourites, they'd do Fran, they'd do Diane, they'd maybe have a couple of hours off, like you said,
Yeah.
and then in the afternoon they'd do a load more Metcons, and then they'd wonder why their body's absolutely smoked.
Exactly. You need to work, in both ends of the spectrum, and Metcons and stuff like that is only one little part of your total fitness, and especially in CrossFit, like being great at Fran can be developed, one thing by doing Fran, but it can also be developed by increasing work capacity, leg endurance, whatever your pull-ups, your grip strength, all those
Yeah.
kind of things, and they have to be approached separately.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, you can train twice a day, 4
Easy
hours in
peasy.
between.
Easy. He then goes on. He's actually, aside from that was his third question. Why haven't we sent him the goods yet? We're gonna send him the goods. He said, and I want you to answer this as well because it's your domain. How frequently should you approach mobility, and how varied should that be? Like, if you have a shoulder and thoracic spine mobility issues, should you be doing mobility and stretching, addressing these weaknesses every day, even on rest days, or does that need some sort of rest on it as well?
I think just like everything else, if you want to become good at running, you need to run a lot, but you don't need to run every day.
Yeah.
If you want to increase your flexibility and mobility, for this case, thoracic spine and shoulders, then you can do it quite often, but I wouldn't do it every day. And
Right.
it also depends on what kind of mobility work are we talking about. Are you doing heavy kettlebell windmills with a 32 kilo kettlebell? Then I definitely wouldn't do it every day because it puts loads of pressure and stress on the joints. But if you manage to vary it, so that kind of answers that question.
Yeah.
If you manage to vary it and do different stimulus, like something that's loaded, something that's unloaded, something that's dynamic, something that's static,
Yeah.
then I think you can do it quite often, yes.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, mate. Like, I try and do my flow routine pretty much every day, but the exercises that I use will change.
Yeah, and they're all unloaded.
They're all, well, they are,
Sort of.
and they aren't, mate. Like, if you, yeah, sort of, they're loaded for my body weight, but even something, if I've gone through, as people that sort of follow my nonsense will know, at the moment I cycle a lot, so just to spend, after a heavy cycling session, or a block of cycling, like, to spend more than 30 seconds at the bottom of squat actually gives me a lot of pain in my hips. So that's not loaded as in I have anything heavy, but I have my body weight at the bottom. Yeah. Whereas today I'm able to sit there for 3 minutes pretty comfortably. I read a couple of articles and just had a good time down there, basically. So I think, but as I say, if it's a day after a heavy training block, then definitely I wouldn't spend as much time at the bottom. So I think I agree 100%, and I think certain things need rest. So if you do have a shoulder that's super tight, you're not gonna continue. If you slam it and do it every single day, that might not necessarily open it up faster, but there is something you can do every day.
You're doing mobility to acquire a certain response, and for whatever his shoulder problem is, he's probably trying to increase his flexion or his rotation.
Yeah.
You need time for the body to adapt to that response.
Right.
And if you keep banging on the same thing, just like if you keep squatting every day, like you'll never give the body enough time to adapt, basically. And you need to do that.
We need to get that done, Moving on. His third question was about the treats. There's another one here, a good one from Lisa down in Oman, who actually, she's been a good supporter talking about people that listen to the show. I think I first met Lisa down in Oman when I was teaching a seminar down there about 5 years ago.
Oh, cool.
So she's a super, super good supporter. This is another one that I actually think you're the best man to... Actually, you should just do this show on your own, mate. You know exactly. She says, "Hi, guys. I suffer massively from muscle knots after training. I try everything from regular massages to spending what feels like my whole life on foam rollers. The knots can get so uncomfortable that I struggle sleeping most nights. I've read much online about them, but can never really seem to find a proper answer other than telling me to stretch after training and to eat more, which I do. Any advice?" I hope I'm sending this question by the right means. You can send them out anyway. I don't do CrossFit, but love listening to your podcast. We really want to get this one out because I think this is something that other people are thinking about and have issues with. What's your thoughts, mate?
A long time ago, we had James Jousey on the podcast talking about people spending too much time on foam rollers and not enough time on movement. Essentially, Lisa here might be tight due to a movement problem or overtraining. It's hard to say, but I think often stuff like this needs to be fixed by doing movement work. So if she's been trying to get massage and dry needling and adjustments and been laying on foam roller for hours, then she should be looking at other places such as movement work. That'll be stuff that's more sort of integrated. That could be like doing walking lunges with like some sort of rotation. Did she mention where the knots are?
She doesn't, mate.
Okay.
She just says,
so basically, in general, you want to fix things by moving the whole body through like different motions. So if your back is tight, then try to stand up with your arms in front of you, feet shoulder width apart, and rotate 5 times each side.
Right.
Okay. Keep looking straight forward. Now you do the same thing with a staggered stance where one foot is back. Same thing, same system. Then you can bend to the side, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just in general, trying to, rotate your body, bend it back and forth, side to side, all those kind of things. I definitely think we can get a lot more response from doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot more integrated instead of just like, okay, if your shoulder's tight, instead of just putting 50 needles in it and, putting a lacrosse ball into it, that might help you in the time where it happens, and it might almost like numb your muscle, but it won't really fix the problem. Because the problem happens due to, either some of your mechanics.
So this is more going along the lines of a lot of the treatment that we might be doing is targeting the let's put it this way, is cutting the snake from the tail.
Short-term wins.
It's very short-term. Rather than saying, okay, this week I'll go a little bit easier, but I'll do some movement prep. I'll do an hour of movement training.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be isoportal, and you don't have to be able to do the low-lying lizard or anything like that. But what you're aiming to do is just move in different ways. We've spoken about the different planes of motion before, and through those different planes of motion, you're giving your body a bit of a rest, but you're really extending it, and you're maintaining it, addressing it at different ends of the spectrum. The knot might be in the middle of the quadricep, but the fact that you've actually got a little bit more mobility through your ankle or through your knee or through your hip has helped that to go away.
Exactly.
Rather than sticking the needle right in where the knot is.
It's all connected.
Yeah.
Like, tissue around the body is all connected. There might be something that's too tight in your lower back that affects your right hand. Like, it's super complicated. And to be honest, we don't know everything about the body yet. So it's a little bit trial and error, just experimenting. Like, if you try something for a week, like do these rotational exercises, does it make you feel better or not? Yeah. If it doesn't, well, then we have to look at other things. If it does, then keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
That's how it works.
I can say definitely from my experience over the last sort of 4 or 5 months, especially when I used to sort of break into cycling in the summer, and I'd really get a lot of pain. I'd really get a lot of quad pain. My quads are still a little bit tight when I do a heavy training block, but I'd really get a lot of pain. But now, with doing a lot more sort of flow training and, as I said before, like mixing those movements up, like one day I could actually, after an hour or 45 minutes in the morning, I'm absolutely drenched because I've had to be a lot more dynamic and a lot more active. It actually gets rid of those problems. So maybe that's something for Lisa to try it. Let us know how you get on. Send us a message in a week or in 2 weeks, and hopefully that fixes the problem.
You have a pretty cool movement routine, don't you?
Yeah.
Can people access that? I've seen a few people with their iPhones up here doing all kind of movement stuff.
Yes, they can.
And you are on the video.
Yeah. Yes, they can. It's if anyone wants that movement flow, it's about 35. The thing is, mate, as you know, I work incredibly well with numbers and sets.
Yeah.
I hate stretching. Stretching is not the cure. We've spoken about that before. So what I did is I put together a flow of exercises that really attack your core, but also create movement and mobility around the hips, around all your joints, thoracic movement. It's not in anywhere near as detailed as the stuff that you do, and that's why people come to see you. But I was just using this thing every single day, and I'd used it every single day for about 4 months. And I had more and more people that I knew had about 30 minutes a day to do something. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to record this. I'm going to put it on my YouTube. And I'm going to and it's unlisted, so you can't even search it. And it's just, you can just do it. And I started giving it to people that were in hotels and this and that. And then I've actually just given it to a load of people. So anyone can have it. All you have to do is send me a message, any which way you want. Email ms@innerfight.com or over my Instagram, mjd_smith, and I will send you the YouTube link to that. It's an unlisted video. It's going to stay an unlisted video. It's for the people that I like, which are you guys, because you're listening to the show. It's private sort of special content I give it to clients. I give it to people that pay money for a service and that respect us. I don't give it out. That's why it's not that it's bad or I'm embarrassed about it or it's a secret. Anyone that listens to this show can have it. And I know that there's thousands of you listening because we have the stats, and the stats are going up, and there's thousands of you listening, so thousands of you can have it. Just send me a message, and I will give you the link to that thing. I don't know, mate. It's, people could pick it apart. If you want to be negative, pick it apart. If you want to use it, just use it.
It's movement.
It's just movement.
You can't go wrong with that stuff.
And it's literally do 10 of this, do 5 of that. Do 4, you know what I mean? It's just super easy. So there's a rep count. The first time you do it, the video is actually 7 minutes, the demonstration. First time you do it, it'll take about 40 minutes. And after that, you can get it done in about just under 30 minutes. So it's really manageable.
Cool.
Easy peasy. Let's move on. It's Arish Mansoor. She's got a question.
That one is for you.
Go on then.
Good morning, Andre.
Brilliant.
Got a question for the podcast. Apologize if this has been covered before, because I work out first thing in the morning. I usually do it on an empty stomach. I read conflicting reports, so I wanted to ask the experts. Is it good or bad to constantly work out first thing in the morning on an empty stomach? Also because I usually have to rush after a workout to get ready, get the kids to school, work, etc. I usually end up having breakfast until 8:30. which is a good few hours after my workout. Thanks for taking the rent to read this, and have an awesome day.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Honestly, mate, I would say...
She works out at 5:30 a.m.
She works out at 5:30.
To put it in context.
Yeah, to put it in a bit of context. But, mate, we have 4 classes. We have a 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30 class.
Yep.
That's about 50 to 60 people coming through the gym that literally... pretty much, except the 8:30 guys, they've probably got up, taken the kids to school, then come in, or the guys and girls. So what we've got is we've got about 50 or 60 people that probably are all facing this problem. Of those 50 to 60 people, I would say 40 of them have asked me this question. I have 2 answers to it. And it's, for me, this is super, super, super clear cut in the general population.
Yeah.
If your objective is to lose weight, to cut body fat, working out fasted first thing in the morning, and then having 1 to 2 hours after the workout where you don't eat, so in Arija's case till 8:30, if your objective is to drop weight, that would not be a problem for me. I've seen some great results. Then people will follow that up and they'll say, but when I wake up, I might feel a little bit hungry and I might feel a little bit tired. What I would then say is, can we use a natural stimulant like caffeine? Can you have an espresso? Or can you now, shameless plug here, can you now walk into the gym at 5:30, ask from behind the desk to have one of the new Raw Rocket Fuels, which is cold coffee, super good, actually tastes really good as well.
Yep.
Straight down and get into it. Yes, you could do that. Could you do something like that? Could you have a coffee? People say, can I have a coffee? Yes, you can. The fat-burning effect, in simple terms, I'm sure we've got more geeky about this in a previous show, but we'll keep it at this at the moment. The fat-burning effect of doing that, I have seen awesome, awesome results for. Some people will then come in, so that's one half. The second half is some people will come in and say, my focus, I really want to be fitter and I want to be stronger, and I feel that my energy levels are very low when I'm working out in the morning. Okay, so if fat loss is not your number one goal, no problem. I'm going to put a little bit more petrol in your tank before you come and work out. Can you try one of these things? Something like some nut butter first thing in the morning, or just some nuts, almonds, cashews, something like that, unsalted. You could have 1 or 2 dates. You could also have a coffee, some caffeine, or something like a banana. Some people will say, I have a banana, I want to be sick. Well, bro, don't have a banana.
Very simple.
Very simple. Some people will say, and with CrossFit, the almonds are not actually giving you a lot of energy. It's just filling a spot in your stomach in simple terms. Yeah. So that's where the clear-cutness. Is it a problem? It's a problem if your goal is not to lose weight and you're losing too much weight. It's a problem if your performance is down and you care about you're really measuring at the moment that you want to increase. If you're going out and running and you really want to push that 5K time, then yeah, it's different. By the way, before I forget, when I say 5K, Arij, I've been coaching her running for the last 5.5 months. She has taken around 6 minutes off her 5K time.
Wow.
She ran 5K in 33:30 the other day. It's absolutely phenomenal what she's done and how she stuck to the program. I hope she doesn't mind me saying that. Didn't take any permission to share my client's confidential information, but I think she deserves a round of applause. If you see Arij in the gym, give her a big high five. 33:30 in a race the other day, and to be honest, I think if you asked her super honestly at the start, did she like running? She probably didn't even like it at all. So super good job. So that's really on food, mate, and it really goes into intermittent fasting. That's why there are conflicting reports. You're going to get one expert that's his or her opinion is related around a performance athlete. If I ask a performance-based coach, or I ask your opinion on a performance athlete, you're going to say one thing, as I've done. If I say on a fat loss, if you look at someone who's 140 kilos trying to lose weight, is it better that I have them in a fasted state? Yes. So that's what I would do. You're also getting, and this is a little bit the second part of her question, is that she doesn't usually end up having breakfast till maybe 8:30, which is a good few hours after the workout. You're still getting what's called the thermic effect after the workout. Yeah. If your goal is performance related and it's more about building muscle, then that is dangerous to not eat in those hours after.
Yeah, you need that fuel.
You need that fuel in there, mate. That's when we see sort of muscle breakdown. And like you said earlier, if you want to do 2 sessions in a day, you need 4 hours recovery. You need to get that fuel straight in.
Yeah.
So for me, mate, I don't know if you have much to add there or something to add there, but for me, it's very clear cut. Yeah. It's like fat loss, no problem. You can intermittently fast. Even if you're on a performance diet and you're using intermittent fasting, I know Philippa's using it at the moment. She's absolutely shredded and performs very well from it. Yeah. But it is a little bit personal to you and to your goals as well. Yeah. I don't know if you want to add something there, mate.
The only thing I can add is that, like, I've heard from many nutritionists that they usually recommend people not, like, having fasting for 16 hours.
Yeah.
So if you finish your last meal at 8 p.m.,
yeah,
then you have to wait until whatever 12 p.m. next day.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of research behind it, and like if you want to know more about it, just Google it up.
Yeah.
But that's definitely like one thing that I've seen work with several of my friends and clients.
Were they able to? This is an interesting one, mate. Were they able to continue to be fasted after working out early in the morning?
That's the only thing I'm not 100% sure about.
When I've done a lot of intermittent fasting and I've worked with a lot of people that have done it, and I'll always try and get them to do their workout close to the end of the fast.
Yeah.
Because you're empty and when we say fasting as well, some people still would have 1 or 2 black coffees, just to be clear for people.
Loads of water, those kind of things.
Loads of water, so it's not a,
that
it's
will
not a
sort of fill
fast.
you up.
But I think it is tricky if you're trying to get in a 16-hour fast and you're essentially working out maybe 10 hours into the fast and then not to have anything. Like, I think it's going to come. What happens is there just comes a time where you're just hungry all the time.
If you're about to pass out and you're at work, and I mean, it's not good for anything.
There we go.
And I also think that you have to, get used to things.
Yeah.
If you do it for one day and you just give up, give it a week and see how you feel next week. Maybe you might feel a lot better because the body adapted.
Yeah. Easy peasy. We got a few more questions to rip through. We'll rip through so we get done in a good time. Which one do you want to go to next, mate? Question 1, question 2, or the one at the bottom? We'll do question 1. As of when do you think as a coach is out of responsibility? That's the question. Quick explanation. There is that one guy in the gym, you always correct his form or technique and he is able to adapt his technique. But as soon as you turn around, he continues with the old technique and doesn't really care about what you say because he wants to go heavy or fast with a sloppy technique to keep up with others. Thoughts?
Get the hell out. Yeah. It's super simple. Like, if that guy is not, or girl is not interested in actually learning and doesn't care about form and just wants to win, well then that person has the wrong mindset and you should either have a conversation with that person and listen, either you get it straight or you're just not the right fit in this gym, and I bet there's other gyms who would be happy to have you.
Absolutely, mate. That's my thoughts as well. That's absolutely right. I mean, people are paying us to give them a certain service. We're delivering that service. I actually don't feel right in people paying and not using the service. Yeah. So we've had a few people that have said, no, okay, then this isn't for us, this isn't the right place for you. Yeah. We're not saying our way is the best way, but we're pretty open in the way that we do things. That's why we share out the podcast, and that's why we're super open to questions and stuff. So that's how we do it. If you're happy with the way that we're doing it and our approach, then jump in and do what we say.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to principles, and we don't want to break those.
Easy. This question continues.
Yeah.
A little bit related to the first question. Obviously, we're all individual with a different level of fitness and technique. What advice do you give to people to find their own red line in get fitter and stronger without overdoing it?
That's a very, very broad question.
Broad, huh?
In general, let's take the 95 of us, which is basically the biggest amount of your members in most gyms. To keep them away from overdoing it, I would just do a recommendation of 4 to 5 sessions a week with a few rest days in between.
There we go.
And that should keep them, on track to get fitter and healthier and not injured.
I think as well, as you work more with people, be it in a group or be it one-on-one, I can pretty much luckily, like, we have a bunch of members, but I can pretty much see if a member is moving in an inefficient way or there's something wrong, and I'll go up and say, Andre, you don't look like 100% today. How are you feeling? And you say, yeah, I've had a super hard day at work. And then I'd say, well, instead of trying to sort of back squat this 50 kilos and really struggling, why don't we just take it down to your normal 35?
50 kilos?
Yeah, that's heavy. But I think that's where a coach, knowing their people, their clients, their athletes, whatever you want to call them, I think that's super important. And also experience in coaching. When you get more experience in coaching, you sort of understand how people react, behave, and their body language, and that really, I think that helps it.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Another one there, that last one.
Yeah. Let's see here. So this question is regards to do with our zoning classes.
Yeah.
I run a full-time boot camp and have done for a couple of years, and when attracting new members, sometimes people will say that they aren't fit enough, etc. I have put on beginner-type boot camps as of this week, and the response has been brilliant. I'm just wondering if you run different zone classes, or do you include all in the same class and each individual would know what option of the workout they would choose as they're in a certain zone or at a stage of their fitness journey?
Yeah, this is something that's super important, and it's a little bit of a double-edged sword here, because I think some people are a little bit intimidated to be in a class with others, whereas a lot of people are very motivated if they're a beginner. Whereas a lot of people are very motivated to be a beginner and to see, I look up to you because you're able to do a muscle up,
back
but
squat 50 kilos.
You back squat 50 kilos, and I can only do the PVC pipe and all this stuff. So I really think, and we've tried it here, we ran base fitness classes for a long time, and then what we got a lot of was we got a lot of people that were doing base, but they just really wanted to be in our mainline class.
Yeah.
So we thought we were doing them a service by almost wrapping them a little bit in cotton wool, giving them a softer intro into what we're doing, but at the same time they wanted to be with those people. So again, it really comes down to the coach. We have what we call our zones of progression.
Yep.
We always put up 3 weights, and people know where they sit in those weights. So
let's go through them. We have red zone, we have
red
black zone,
exactly.
white zone, and gray zone. And it's basically, just another word for RX, scaled, whatever we can call it.
That's it. So we'll always put that up. And then again, it's the responsibility of the coach and the client to respect the coach, that the coach is doing the best by them.
Yeah.
I think I've probably had as many, should I say, arguments or confrontations with people about which weight to take as I've had with anyone in my life. And I think as a coaching team, not me personally, but I think as a coaching team, we're probably wrong 1% of the time. So we really sort of, we really get into it, and we know what people should be lifting and what they should be doing. So it's almost like that. You segregate your class, you put up the workouts, but it's down to the coach to know your clients, for the clients to trust you, and you to be able to have that relationship and say, you're a beginner, you're going to do this weight. But I wouldn't, that's probably not what I'd say. Actually, I would never say you're a beginner. I'd just say this, today you're just going to do this weight. If it's really easy, just let me know at the end, and I'll make sure next time I teach you it's going to be a lot harder. Exactly. Or I'll just give you a finisher. Just go and do 40 cals on the air bike. Because I know that if I gave you that back squat and it was 100 back squats at 50 kilos, you would not be able to walk tomorrow, never mind jump on the bike and do those cals. So there's a little bit of a mix up there. Some people do like to be on their own, and some people do like to be in a group. I think that's the double side of it.
Yeah.
Mate, a couple of things before we finish up. The training journal by the Mind Muscle Project. You know a little bit about that. We want to put out a bit of information about that.
Yeah, so the Mind Muscle Project that we mentioned in the beginning of the show that we both listen to and that provide really good shows, especially on CrossFit. So if you're into that stuff, which you probably are since you're listening to this show, you should definitely go over and hit up what they're doing. So lately they just launched something called the Training Journal. Yeah. And it's basically a 100-day journal where you track every day your training, basically like asking yourself in the morning and the evening, similar to the 5-minute journal.
Yeah.
And it basically just comes down to asking yourself questions such as like, what do I expect from this day, like what I want to see today, and how in the evening did I do my best, or what could I do better tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also, in their book, there's like kind of Tool of Titan style. If you read that book, like they have loads of people from their podcast sharing knowledge regards to training, nutrition, mental health, and those kind of things in between like different days. Right. So there'll be some cool guests, you know, sharing stuff about that. So if you can, you should definitely get a hold of this book. It's a super good way, you know, to track your training, get a bit more aware about what you're doing, and just get a bit more of intention in your training.
Awesome. Mind Muscle Project, the training journal. A couple of other updates. We're massive supporters of the Dubai Fitness Challenge. Please make sure you get that post for those guys. It's an incredible initiative if you're in Dubai. Yep. Obviously, if you're not, just check them out. They're doing something super cool. They've managed to mobilize a whole city just by challenging people to move 30 minutes.
It's quite crazy how like it's just been a wave hitting Dubai.
It's huge, mate. And you know, it's just positive things to come. Another thing as well, we've asked for this before, we still want it. You guys are the ones that work out here in the gym, or maybe if you're in another gym, you have some anyway. Send us your playlist. Send us a link on Spotify to your favorite playlist, even if it's not your own. We are constantly looking for good music to keep you guys motivated. Andre's is mainly Katy Perry. Mine's mainly DMX. That's just the way it goes. Sometimes Elton John, but who knows. But if you do have a playlist that you just love to work out to, please send it to us. We'd love to put it. It's easy if it's on Spotify because that's what we use here at the gym.
Exactly.
So that would work. I didn't get round to changes in the decor at the gym. Maybe we'll explain why we've done that in a 3-minute show another time. Last thing, your mobility program is changing slightly. Folks, you need to listen to this. What are the changes, mate? What's available?
The program has changed quite a lot. Like the format has changed quite a bit. It's a lot more professional now with a lot of pictures. There's about like 300 videos that you get access to. There's now a monthly newsletter where you'll get exclusive content. So only for people who are on the program, they'll get a video for every month where I share simple things that you can use in your day-to-day life, especially in regards to mobility and training. There's also going to be success stories and other cool stuff. We have also opened up for a new package which includes a weekly group PT session, which is going to be every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. in InnerFight headquarters. So if you're interested in that package, just get in touch, and you get the program. You get a weekly PT with 5 other people, only 6 people per class. So it's going to be really cool to create a bit of more community.
Easy peasy. That's it. Again, listener Q&A proves to be one of the most popular shows that we're running at the moment. I think we got round to every single question. If your question didn't get answered, or we've missed it off, or you have a question, or you want my secret YouTube video that's unlisted, blacklisted, and X-rated, drop us an email, winninginnerfight.com. We'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, take care.